welcome back to another video, guys. And today I'm going to be talking about my best tips on how to adapt with injuries through training and nutrition. And the reason why I'm going to talk about adapting to injuries rather than trying to avoid or prevent injuries is because I think it's more common that when you do train a lot and you put a lot of physical stress on your body, I think there will come a time where on average, most of the times you might, sort of cause a little bit of more unwanted stress on your body just because you want to get better at something and push yourselves, which is not a bad thing in any way, because the only way you're going to progress, get stronger, build more muscle, get fitter is by really pushing your limits. But it's kind of like a double-edged sword where the more you push, the more careful you have to be, but you sort of can't because you're pushing your body to its limit, where the risks of injuries or something going wrong can happen more often than not. So I think it's more important to understand that when these sorts of things happen, how you can start adapting your training and nutrition around this. And keep in mind that what I'm talking about is mainly just these small niggles, these little flare-ups, general mechanical issues and stuff like that, not necessarily tears or any massive injuries that might require big surgeries and stuff like that. My first tip would be to keep moving. So if I gave you an example of if I had a knee injury, which I'm currently dealing with right now, my knee the tendons seem to just flare up a lot when I do something like a squat, or my knees, or my quads rather, feel more force, then it tends to bother my knee a bit. But this doesn't mean that I have to eliminate training completely. The most obvious part is that I can still do upper body training. I don't have to completely eliminate upper body training. Secondly, just because my knee hurts doesn't mean I can't do calf work or some type of hamstring work, or even split squats where you can adjust the height, adjust where your feet positioned in terms of making that split squat a more hamstring or glute dominant than quad dominant. My second tip would be to maybe change it into a more metabolic style training, and this is basically a more pump style training. So instead of going for more hypertrophy where you're trying to build more muscle or doing some sort of strength training, I would switch over to more of a pump style workout where you're just aiming to get as much blood into a particular muscle group as possible. And what this will do is, obviously, the more blood that can get into a certain area of your body part. So if you focus on legs and focus on a lot of pump work, the more blood that goes there, the more nutrients will go there, and the more faster you'll be able to speed up that recovery. So that's definitely one thing I would consider if I was you. A third tip is to get out of a deficit. So if you're looking to lose weight or something like that, and you've come across a particular type of injury which is playing some sort of impact in your training, I would push your calories back up to maintenance, or even just slightly more, like 100 calories or a couple hundred calories more than you would over maintenance. And this is because, let's say you want to do metabolic training and you're trying to get as much blood to that body part as possible so that you can keep improving, keep getting more nutrients there to heal. You need food for that, you need energy for that, and you need enough nutrients to speed up the process of that. So staying in a deficit is definitely not going to be the wisest choice when you're trying to recover from an injury. So my point number 3 is 100% get out of your deficit, go to a maintenance minimum. If not, I highly recommend that you go into a little bit more of a surplus. And just remember that these are just temporary changes. My fourth tip would be, and this is more along the line of trying to prevent an injury than adapt to one, is to stop training with the intent of feeling your muscles working, if that makes sense. So a lot of times what happens is that before we start a particular movement, let's take for example a bench press or a lat pull down, what we try and do is, as soon as we're holding the weight in a certain position before we're ready to start, we start trying to really jam our shoulders or really extend our arms in a pull down and pull our shoulder blades back to the point where it feels like our lats are about to tear off our bone, and what we take that for is a good sensation when it's really not. This is a lot of stress and a lot of compensation on your joints, which is causing this massive sensation, a false sensation that you're working your lats. But what you're doing is you're actually compromising the integrity of that joint, and what it's doing is sending signals through this sensation that what you're doing right now is really lighting up the lats. And if you just think of it from a normal perspective, in anything you do in everyday life, if you're picking up bags, if you're normal heavy lifting or moving around furniture, you never really intend to really feel your muscles. So if you were to lift up a box, you're not exactly pulling the box with a bicep curl. You're not looking to flex your bicep. You're just looking to lift up the box, and that is basically a bicep curl. But what we're trying to do is, when we pick up a dumbbell and do a bicep curl, what we're trying to do, along with moving the arm into flexion, is what we're trying to do is contract the bicep at the same time. You don't really need to do that, and the more you can get used to that and understand that, the more better and safer your training will be. And I'll talk about more on that in another video, but it's important, just from a setup point of view, that never try and intend to get a really strong sensation or a burning feel before you even started a rep, because that should automatically come into your head that there's something wrong. You shouldn't already be hurting from a workout before you've even started it, if it makes sense. Number 4 would be, and this will depend on every individual, depending on whether they train in the gym, at home, and how comfortable they are, would be to record certain movements, especially if they're causing you problems. Just try and record it and see how you're performing it, so you can understand where you're going wrong, or you can maybe show your coach or show somebody that can maybe help you with improving your form. Because a lot of times what can happen is we can go through a movement, but because we don't have it recorded, we might think we're doing it okay. We might look at a YouTube video saying, okay, when you do a press, tuck your elbows in, stay in the range of your arm path, and so on. But when we do the movement, we think we're doing it right, but actually when you look back at our recording, there might be something wrong. Your elbows might be flaring out for whatever reason, and you just won't be able to see it in the moment that you're performing that exercise. And this is where recording can really help you. So those are my 5 tips to adapt to injuries, guys, and I hope this helps. And remember, this video is not about how to prevent necessarily. The last 2 points will definitely help you prevent injuries in the future, but just understand that even with those 2 points, when it comes to you really pushing to get results, there'll come a point where you might accidentally compromise your form in order to push away or really push the barriers of your training, and that can happen. But it's important to just keep moving, keep getting that nutrition in, and just working around the injury. Because like I said, most likely it's not going to be anything bad. It's just going to be a minor strain which you've caused in that moment, which has caused a joint to flare up or something like that. So if you like this video, guys, be sure to leave it a thumbs up. Comment below if you've had any injuries, or if you've taken some of these tips in the past and it's really helped you improve your form or your rehab from injuries. It would be great to know that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.